So let me officially welcome all of you tonight to tonight's magic show. Those who've been with me before, you know the diatribe. It's like nobody goes to webinars because they're boring, but we do magic at magic shows. And tonight's topic is truly magical, and it's something we thought long and hard about here at Full Circle with respect to what we should even call this. And hopefully a little enticing for some, the secret formula that builds wealth, what every wealthy person knows. And in my study of wealth and abundance, which I've invested more than 30 years in, you guys. I don't know how many books I've read and how many seminars I've taken and or taught, because to teach, you got to learn, which is why my wife says I must be a real dumb SOB because I teach a lot. But in that journey, you guys, every wealthy person has access to some version of what we're going to talk about tonight, okay? And it's a really important piece. We're going to sort of slant it towards the financial side and the money side, you guys, when we think about it. But literally, wealth is not just about finances. I'm confident every person on this conversation knows. Wealth is about wealth of relationships. Wealth is about, wealth of personal freedom, wealth of fulfillment, and this formula that we're going to talk about tonight, the secret formula, literally applies to every aspect of life, right? So I definitely want to put a plug in for that awareness right up front, that this is not just about finance. I believe that finance is one of the things that, in my experience, a lot of people get messed up on, but so we'll certainly put a slant on it from that side. But I want to be clear, there's a lot more to being wealthy than just that, right? For those of you that haven't had a chance to interact with Full Circle before, we're focus is not just on who you are as a professional, but who you are as a human being. And one of the slogans we have, we're very, like, if you can imagine, those of you that are old enough to remember the old Ghostbusters symbols, right? The Ghostbusters with the big line through it. We're anti-cookie cutter. We believe in the sanctity and the authenticity of the individual, and all of our work is designed to help people express the biggest and best to the world. You can't grow as a business professional unless you're willing to grow as a human being. And so the two things, in our opinion, go hand in glove. As a result of getting absolute crystal clarity about who you are and who you're not, you're going to develop a whole lot more meaning in your life. You're going to develop and enhance and attract a whole lot more money, which is one of the things we're talking about tonight, and a whole lot more freedom in your life as well. So that's really what our purpose and passion is through an authentic way, help people find more meaning, more money, and more freedom. It's interesting, you guys, I've had the privilege of interacting with, I don't know any billionaires personally, but I know some hundreds of millionaires. And it's interesting that as they talk about, $1,000, like some people would talk about, $1.50. They talk a lot about, my experience with the few that I know, they talk a lot about meaning. They talk a lot about fulfillment and finding ways to be fulfilled at the end of the day, because in their opinion, money comes and money goes. And you know what, I've nowhere near that amount of abundance in my life financially, but I can tell you that in my professional life, money comes and money goes. But the meaning is what will anchor it in for you, okay? How would we do that? Well, we have a proprietary system. We call it the Full Circle Roadmap. And the roadmap is designed in 4 columns where we work on the vision for the authentic individual for both their life and their business. We remove the focus blocks that are blocking that vision from expressing itself fully. We design, tweak the systems that will help that vision express itself fully. And where wanted and necessary, which is very commonly the case, although we do have a client right now who has no team, we also help docs recruit, never hire, recruit, train, inspire, lead, and properly compensate team members, right? So there's many, many steps on the roadmap. This is sort of our sort of primary level, if you will, across different aspects of clarity, manifestation, and legacy. Today's conversation, you guys, is literally coming in the vision column, and it's right in here, if you can see my mouse moving, and we're going to be talking about the manifestation formula. Now, we have several ways to show this because different people process information differently, right? So this is literally a graphic that is a road, right? A road map with different waypoints on it or different mileage markers on it or whatever. It's all saying the same thing, just in a different way. So tonight, a conversation is going to be coming into this aspect, the manifestation aspect. And we're really talking about a system for manifesting, okay? There is another level to us, which we have about 20% of our clients do, which is the legacy level, which is the freedom level. These are people that are literally learning and affirming how to be great entrepreneurs. They usually are focused on more than one business and how to leverage themselves so they have more time freedom, because they've pretty much done well on the clarity and the manifestation phases. So let's get into our dialogue tonight, you guys. Is everybody ready? Let's see if anybody got fingers to keyboard. Who's ready? Just give me either a thumbs up to the camera or a me. Who's got thumbs up? Anybody thumbs up? Yeah. We got hands up even. That's awesome. All right. In my travels around the world, you guys, I was working with clients either live in the old days or, of course, virtually, and ever since the world tilted on its axis. One of the things that frustrates people a lot is what I call hit and miss manifestation. Okay. And what I mean by hit and miss is that they have intention about something that they want to manifest in their life. And it seems like they put solid effort towards it. They hold the vision and other things we're going to talk about tonight. And then it seems like it manifests relatively efficiently and in a proper timeline. And then they say, hey, I know how to manifest. And then the next time they go to manifest something, they absolutely poop the bed. It just doesn't work. And it's frustrating because as we'll find out, manifestation, the formula is as much an art as it is a science. And if you don't have literally a formula, which we're going to talk a lot about, it really becomes a hit and miss sort of a thing. And I know there's people that would really be looking for more consistency. What can happen then is you can get into this mindset of like it's magical thinking. It's like, I don't have control or influence over the things I manifest. I don't have control or influence over how quickly I manifest them or the form with which I manifest them. And one of my great mentors, Dr. John DeMartini, looked in deep in my soul like only a mentor can years ago when I was traveling with him. And he says, Tom, if there's two things you're going to get caught in this life, it's form and it's time, right? The form with which you thought you wanted to manifest something is maybe different than you intended, but it's trust that it's perfect for you at this stage of your life. And that's a trust piece, you guys, or a faith piece. But then the time issue, because, you must be willing to realize that things could take longer than you thought they might take, or they might happen faster. And you got to be open to both sides. It has been such wise counsel. I heard that almost 35 years ago, you guys. And it's been such wise counsel for me because in my life, that's been very true. But if you don't have a formula, if you don't have an understanding of how manifestation happens, you could literally get into magical thinking, where you think it doesn't matter what I do or what I intend or how I go about it. It's just all kind of hocus pocus and luck of the draw that actually, you manifest what you want or what you don't want. And I strongly disagree with that. And I have a lot of evidence to support that, both in my own personal life, as well as in the thousands of clients I've had the privilege of coaching over the last almost 30 years. And then we get into this stuff, right? Anybody ever done this, right? The stinking thinking, the little voice in the back of your head that goes, hey, Tom, why can other people do this and you seem to suck, man? Maybe you just suck at everything. Maybe you are just a sucker. Maybe you don't. Anybody else? Anybody hands in the camera, thumbs? Anybody ever had that voice in the back of their head? Ever? Right? Well, I can tell you, this is something that we hear a lot from clients is why are other people manifesting their dreams and I'm not, right? Why can others do this? They get frustrated. Till the end degree, you guys, is literally people, their ultimate fear behind all those frustrations is, maybe I'm never going to live my dream life. Maybe I'm going to wind up one of those, old, cold, bitter people that just didn't live their dreams. They just, died with the music inside of them, right? I can tell you, gang, that would be for me like a horrible way to go. To know that I had the opportunity to live my life and my ideal, whatever it means to me, right? Because success means different things to different people. And one of the first things we get our clients to do is to define success for themselves. Because there's so much money and marketing effort put out there to try and convince us that this is, literally what we should wear. This is the car we should drive. This is, how we should look, right? And, if you're a lady and you're not a size 1, then there's something wrong with you. And if you're a guy and you're not wearing, an Armani or you're not wearing a Rolex watch, there's something wrong with you. And it's like, you know what? It doesn't, I can speak with authenticity. I don't own a Rolex. Absolutely no desire to own a Rolex. If someone wanted to give me one, I wouldn't kick a gift horse in the mouth, but it's not something that I value or want to manifest, right? But I can say with great authenticity that to the 99th by 99 percentile, I'm living my life at my ideal. So that if tomorrow is my last day on the planet, gang, I'm good. At least I did it my way, right? Yet there's a lot of people who are not in that place to be able to say, I've designed and lived my life in my ideal, right? So what is it that people really want? Well, they want to manifest their dreams. We just talked about that, right? We want to be able to manifest our dreams, whatever that is for us. And that's different, as I said, for different people, because everybody has different things. We also want consistency in how we process things and how we manifest. If you know, the other side of consistent manifestation is hit and miss, right? We would like to know that there's something we can do that can influence, you know, the vibration, the energy, the outcomes that we want to manifest in our life, so that we can actually achieve what it is that we would love to achieve. And as a byproduct of that, then we can be self-responsible for our own lives. We don't have to become dependent or codependent upon others. We can literally live our lives in our authentic ideal, which I think is one of the things that is extremely important for me, and something, maybe it's just the kind of people I hang with, but it seems to be something that's pretty important to a lot of people that I interact with as well, right? The ultimate thing then is that we can end up with a formula to follow. And that's what I want to share with you tonight, is the formula that I have tweaked and devised over time. With a great shout out to my dear mentor and friend, Dr. John DeMartini, who's really sparked my thinking on this and helped clarify my thinking on this. Because I think John, I've known John, just for reference, is a doctor of chiropractic. He hasn't practiced hands-on chiropractic, to the best of my knowledge, in a very long time, probably, I don't even know, 20 or 25 years. But I knew John 30 years ago, and he was still a hands-on doc. And one of the things I admire about John is his consistency and his ability to manifest in his ideal. And I've seen John go from a hands-on doc to, you know, lecturing and teaching and writing books. And last I heard, John has written, I think it's 42 books now in 68 languages. He lectures around the world routinely. He's a consult and advocate and advisor to presidents, to sheiks, to prime ministers, to, you know, and I know that one of the reasons is because of his manifestation formula, which I have borrowed and tweaked to make my own. And I would offer this, you guys, one of the many things I love about John and about his consistency is that he paints the picture of his life in writing, okay? So last I heard, and I haven't talked to John in a few months, but last I heard, what he calls his book of life is 768 typewritten pages. 768 pages. It weighs 10 pounds and he travels all the time. And so, you know, when you're loading luggage, you know, you might want to pack a little light, right? Nope. The very first thing that goes in John's luggage is his book of life. Weighs 10 pounds. He has a copy in a safety deposit box. That's how important it is to him. And if he only lost it once in all the years that I've known him, at least, and he had his team FedEx a copy to the hotel he was in South Africa, wherever he was the next morning. He gets his team to photocopy a new copy every quarter, so that if he ever does lose it, he's got it's pretty up to date, right? And he goes into that book of life every day, you guys, following this formula that I'm going to share with you, okay, with a few tweaks to make it my own. And he adds a sentence, he takes out a word, he reads it, he thinks about his life, he intends his life in his ideal using this formula. And again, as I said, everybody follows their path, hopefully, but I've seen him go from being a reasonably successful hands-on doc to this guy that writes books and lectures and is a consult to people all over the world. So I will stand on the shoulders of that man, that he has manifested a lot in his life, hopefully following his ideal. And this formula is part of the reason why. This is one of our clients, Dr. Darren, who before we got into this work, he was successful, but he knew he had more potential. There was an itch he couldn't scratch, right? There was very much hit and miss manifestation, as we talked about, and he was, quite frankly, a little bit frustrated / pissed off, okay? After we got working this stuff, the dream he realized he could dream even bigger because there was a methodology that he could follow to get where he wanted to go. They started to getting that consistent manifestation that I alluded to, and his confidence started to ride up, right? When your confidence rides up, does your manifestation speed up or slow down, gang? When your confidence goes up, speed up, slow down. Anybody in the camera? Yes, it speeds up for sure, Bella. All right, so let's go in and dive into this, you guys. If you're a note taker, as I am when I'm on one of these conversations, right, there's 5 very distinct points we're going to go through, and I'm going to cover each one in some detail. So don't be upset with me if I go a little quick here. We're going to talk about the art and science of manifestation. We're going to talk a lot about the law of attraction, how it plays a role in manifestation. We're going to talk about and go over the formula for manifestation. We're going to talk about gratitude, and we're going to talk about how God doesn't make any junk. Okay. So let's get into this, you guys, and we're going to go into the art and science, right? And again, I contend that if you have a formula, then it leans towards the science of something, right? Because if you have a formula, then you can follow the formula to create a consistent, dependable, reproducible result. So there is some science to this. And again, part of the nexus or basis of science is it's an observational technique that you observe something, you make a hypothesis, you add A and B, or you follow this hypothetical path that you've set to predict an outcome. If you create the outcome and it's reproducible, it becomes a scientific law. If you don't produce the outcome, you can still learn some, come back and tweak the observation, tweak the formula, and work your way through. So that is the science of this formula, you guys, is that there is a reproducibility to it that has been done for, at least in my work, for over 30 years, and certainly in the work of the clients that I've worked with in the almost 30 years that I've been teaching this. Now, the art of it, you guys, is as we get into the formula, hopefully you'll be transparent where the art comes in, but there is a kind of an art to it. There's a kind of a flair to it with respect to how you actually implement each of the 8 steps. And if you're a note taker, I'll give you a little heads up here. There are actually 8 steps, 8 parts to the formula. Okay. And the art of that is to how you express each one of those steps in your ideal based upon your personality, your flair, your way of expressing yourself. Okay. So I want to be clear that it is an art and it is a science. And that makes it to me even more worthwhile. Talk about the law of attraction. The law of attraction is something that's more well known than it was when I started studying it 35 years ago. But the law of attraction basically says that those things that you focus on, you attract into your life, right? Really, really, really broad strokes. Those things you focus on, you attract into your life. And let's be clear, you guys, this isn't just the great stuff that happens in your life. It's also the crapola stuff that happens in your life, right? Because the law of attraction isn't just towards the quote unquote positive, it's towards the negative too, right? And it's an energetic thing. So it's not as cut and dried as some left brain, science sort of an experiment. But from an energetic standpoint, I have absolute 100% knowingness that it is a real thing. And you know what? For those of you that are in chiropractic, here's an easy way to remember this or to affirm this in your life. Have you ever gone and studied something, right? Like say you take a course or seminar on shoulders or knees or I had a client recently who did a bunch of work on concussions and stuff, right? Well, mysteriously and magically, what comes into the clinic over the next 3 to 6 months? A lot of shoulders or knees or concussions or whatever it was you were studying. Like, how does that work? I can tell you on a more simplified version. Years ago, when we were expanding our family, for those that don't know, we've got 5 daughters, a busy family, a little older now as of this recording. They're all young adults. But as the family was expanding, we needed to get bigger and bigger vehicles. And so there was a time where I just said to my wife, honey, can you handle this? I'm in the clinic, I'm busy, I know you got the kids, but can you? She goes, yeah, I got it. So she goes out, she comes back after a long day of searching. She pops into my office and she throws a set of car keys over her shoulder, lands on my desk. And she goes, we're buying that. I said, oh, okay, that was certain. I heard you. You're buying that. Okay, great. What are we buying? And she goes, that. And she goes to the window and opens the blinds and she looks at that. And it was a mob car. It was a mafia car. It was a great big ass Lincoln town car. Like the only ones I'd ever seen in my life, I saw in movies that mobsters drove or somebody drove them around. I was like, we're driving a mob car. We're going to be the only person in our small city that's driving a mobster car. Like, oh my God. Bizarrest thing happens. Guess what happens over the next 2 weeks as I'm driving the car around the city? I see all kinds of them in our city. There was at least 8 of them in our city. I'd never noticed one before. Why? Law of attraction. The things you focus on, you attract into your life. Now, here's the science behind it. For those of you that got a real neurological side to it, okay, that love neurology, here's the neurology to it. It's the reticular activating formation. or the reticular activating system in your midbrain that actually is the neurology behind the law of attraction. Okay. The key is this, the law of attraction. The more you focus on it, the clearer you focus on it, and the more power, as one of my great teachers said, the more powerful, positive, passionate emotion you can put into it, the more you're going to drive the formula forwards. Okay. And so, again, let's be clear, right? I had a friend of mine one time who had talked about this, and he was kind of like, yeah, that sounds a little hocus pocus, Tom. You're a little weird. And I go, yeah, thank you very much. I appreciate that. I can take ownership of that. I don't think like the masses, and I appreciate the compliment because I took it as one. And he goes, well, I kept did the thing you were talking about where I kept focusing on getting a new car and getting a new car and getting a new car. And I did get a new car, but it was a 1996 half rusted out Honda Civic. And I said, well, that's because you weren't clear. You didn't tell the universe that you wanted a 2020 Hunter Green XJ12 Jaguar with that beautiful, soft beige leather interior that smells like saddle soap that makes you want to drool. Get some clarity about what it is you want, put some emotion behind it, and stay focused to what it is you want and the probability. Because let's be clear, gang. Let's be clear, there are no guarantees in life. Sadly, no guarantees will be here tomorrow. Sadly. Right? Emerald's driving that car. Be safe, my friend, right? No guarantees will be here tomorrow or you'll get to where he's going based upon statistics, but we can work with probabilities, and we work with probabilities at Full Circle all the time. We want to stack the deck that there's the highest level of probability that you're going to design and manifest your life in your ideal. Okay? So again, if you're humdrum dorum about it, yeah, so, blah, 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 versus getting some excitement and passion and inspiration, that's going to drive the formula forward that much faster. Okay. So let's talk about this formula, gang, because it's again, as I said, it's a formula, so it's reproducible. And you know what? I'm going to test myself here. So I'm going to get somebody to give me a thumbs up. While I'm still in my browser, if I click that button, can you see the formula now, Bella? Or do you still see the last slide? What are you seeing?
I'm seeing the manifestation formula with the gratitude plus the vision.
Who says you can't teach a younger dog a new trick, right? Okay. So this is the manifestation formula, you guys, and we're going to go through it in more detail. But if you're a note taker, this might be the time to start writing. Okay. So step one in the manifestation formula is gratitude. Screenshot could be great. Oh, there you go. Bella's on the ball. So I'll just go through it with a bit of efficiency here, you guys, and then we'll move on. We'll go through more detail later. Gratitude followed by a thought, followed by a vision, followed by the written word, followed by an affirmation, followed by emotion with committed action, ending in thankfulness, is the manifestation formula here at Full Circle. Okay, so let's go through some of these steps so that it's crystal clear about what they are and what they mean, right? Gratitude and thankfulness are the two ends of the formula. And some people get a little bit confused about that because they go, well, isn't that the same thing? And I say, no, it's not. Because gratitude is in my offering, is a state of being, right? Whereas thankfulness is thankfulness is something that can lead to gratitude. But it's a fractal of. It's like it's like gratitude is the ocean, and thankfulness is a drop of water in the ocean, in my opinion, right? So gratitude is a state of being, and you know what? I often say it this way to clients. I say, geographically speaking, you can't leave a place you've never been. It's geographically impossible. You can't leave, Cape Town, South Africa, if you've never been there. Because you've never been there. So how could you leave there? Because you've never been there, right? So if you can't have gratitude for your life as it is, for all its, greatness and all its warts and foibles, if you can't have the blessings of that and see the gratitude of that, it's improbable that you're going to ever leave that space. So it takes some work, you guys, to be able to have gratitude for life and business as it is. But if you can see how it serves you, and instead of having the negative mindset around it, you've got the positive mindset of gratitude, right? And gratitude, even to me, is bigger than positivity. It's a vibrational state that is actually kind of hard to define, but it's something when you have it, you can feel it, right? It's like trying to, describe to somebody in a left brain way what chocolate tastes like. Hard to do, but when you taste chocolate, you know what it is, right? When you're in a state of gratitude, you know. And if you can, when you manifest a state of gratitude, everything else flows easily from there. So then you have a thought, whatever that thought is. I want to manifest whatever it is that you want to manifest in life. I have an amazing relationship, $1 million, a hunter green XJ12, beige leather interior Jaguar, whatever it is. Taking that thought and expanding it into a vision activates other aspects of your neurology as well as your mind, which to me is more than the brain, right? The human mind is way more than the brain. And you, with that vision, you end up with that using literally sort of that, it's a bit of a crude analogy, guys, but that optic center in your mind to be able to open up to what it looks like. But so a thought is a precursor to a vision. But now we're going to start to activate different parts of our physiology, right? So we're going to take that vision and we're going to write about it. We're going to put it into written form, just like my friend John has done with his 765 or whatever number of pages are now book, that is his book of life, right? Because now you're crossing what my indigenous friends call the rainbow bridge, right? And the rainbow bridge in most indigenous cultures that I've studied is like an infinity symbol on its side. I've talked about it in these programs before. And on this side is the world of possibility, or the world of light. Sorry, the world of sound. To be clear, this side is the world of possibility, the world of sound, which is very, 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 very congruent with superstring theory, if you study quantum physics at all, right? The quantum physicists believe that the base fundamental essence of the universe are just literally like chords or strands of music or sound. The indigenous people have been talking about this for hundreds of thousands of years. But when you cross the rainbow bridge, right, what you're doing is you're crossing from the world of possibility to the world of actuality. You're going from sound to light. You're going from vision to written word. And when you do that, bring it from possibility into actuality. It's an incredibly powerful thing. Now you're going to affirm that, right? And if you're not doing morning affirmations, I'm going to ask you to start, okay? A whole other training on that in full circle, but the quick version of it, you guys, is when you're doing affirmations, you actually speak them out loud. And so now you're activating another part of neurology, which is your hearing, right? So with your vision, you're sort of activating your optic centers. With your written word, your kinesthetic centers. And then with your affirmations, you're bringing in the hearing side of it, okay? Now we're going to impact it with some powerful, positive, passionate emotion, right? And this is something in our culture I've noticed it seems to be drifting a bit, where people are afraid to be passionate. They're afraid to like stand up and be noticed and yell from the rooftops and tell them that there's things that they're excited about in life, right? And yet people with passion are, there's some charisma with that. People want to hang out with people that are passionate, right? Well, there's actually too much passion. It can, repel people. But in general, I would say that emotion drives forth that whole process of manifestation. But you got all of that stuff, and then you sit on top of the mountain and go om all day, and you don't do anything. Nothing's going to happen. And that's why committed action is such an important part of this, you guys, right? Because as my mentor taught me years ago, the difference between a true goal and a wish or a fantasy is a bunch of things, but one of them is that there is actually a deadline in time and space that turns it from a goal or a wish into, from a wish into a goal. And then there's also, you're taking committed action and you're seeing signs of manifestation, even if it's not exactly where you want to be, right? Committed action can take hours, days, weeks, months, years, right? I think of my wife recently read a book that I read years ago called Mandela's Way, the story of Nelson Mandela, his biography. And, talk about committed action. In prison for 26 years. And the man held the vision for what it is that he wanted, which is, to free of apartheid. And, he was able to hold that together through all of that committed action. Anybody that's changed the world in any meaningful way, you guys, Mahatma Gandhi, committed action over and over and over again, even though the results weren't showing up very quickly. And the last piece is thankfulness. And I've read in several great texts and tomes, you guys, that the most powerful manifestors the most powerful manifestors have always ended their intention for what it is they want with literally a thank you. Because they're so certain that it's on its way. They're not attached to the timeline. They're not attached to the exact form, but they would often say this is what I've read so many times, you know, X, Y, and Z, if it serves my highest good, thank you. With that certainty that they're plugged into the cosmic AT&T system, they're plugged into the mainframe of source vibration, which I call God or universal intelligence, and they just end that with a piece of thankfulness. Now, thankfulness is a precursor to gratitude, and the cycle continues. So it actually feeds on itself, you guys, as you go from step to step to step. All right, here's a question I have. Of those 8 steps, I would love to see this in the chat, you guys. What is the step that you probably would benefit from increasing the most or doing more of or starting to do for the first time? I'd love to see fingers to keyboard while I take a sip of water. What is one of those 8 steps that is probably your weakest link currently? I'd love to see. Committed action, says Bella. Okay, got it. Yep. Bill, committed action. Yep. There seems to be some consistency here. Anybody else? I actually just rewrote the entire module in Full Circle on commitment. So it's not, that's understandable. Dr. Olson says affirmations. Tom says action, committed action. Yeah, so there seems to be some consistency there. Why I think it's important, you guys, to know, right? Because it is a lifelong study, potentially, at least it is for me, committed to this for my life, to study this thing and at different phases of life, realize that there's something that I would score like just pick a number of the year, 7 out of 10. And you know what, in the next quarter, let me get better on really clarifying my vision to make it from a 7 out of 10 to an 8 out of 10, if I was to do like a subjective self-assessment. So whatever it is that you're lacking or you feel is your weakest link in the formula, now, I'm asking you to consider doing this. Commit in writing that over the next 90 days, over the next 3 months, the next quarter, you're going to do whatever you need to do to make that better, to increase that. So if we were to have this conversation 3 months from now, you would go, you know what? Back in when we did this, it was this, and now that's better. And now actually that's gone up a few notches. And this one is relatively speaking like my weaker link. Let me focus on that. My experience tells me, you guys, if you try to focus on every step at all at once, it's mind-boggling. And it tends to, usually it just doesn't happen well or happen at all. And things kind of, go a little bit downhill. So I would encourage you to pick one and move it forward. I would love to know this, you guys. Let's do the opposite side. Go to the keyboard, please. Which is your strength? Which is the one that you have good ownership of currently, right? I'd love to see what that was and see how that compares. Let's see what we got coming into the chat, you guys. Gratitude, Bella says. Awesome. That's great. Thought, Bill says. Great. Lots of thoughts, I'm assuming. Yeah. Affirmation, Tom says. Very cool. So a little bit of a spread here. I know my wife says I have more thoughts in a day than some people have in a lifetime, but harnessing that thought is this thing. Dr. Olson says gratitude and thankfulness. Very cool. Those are the precursors and the tail end of the formula. So, all right, well, let's go in and I want to actually keep on this journey, you guys. So let me just go back and share my screen again. I love to come off a screen share though, because I get to see like big smiling faces instead of tiny thumbnails. So thank you for letting me do that, you guys. All right, so we already talked about the formula piece. Now let's go in and bring in a couple of the other here. I already talked about this a fair bit in the last conversation, you guys, how it starts with gratitude, but I can't emphasize that enough. Gratitude is one of those weird things for me as a person, as an individual, that despite the relatively incredible life that I've designed and manifested, there are times where I can't feel gratitude to the degree that I'd like to. And quite frankly, it pisses me off because there's no reason why it's not there, but because it's a sensation, it's a state of being, it's like I kind of miss it sometimes. So I've had a long-standing study of gratitude and how to increase that. And I will say with great authenticity that I'm way better today than I was last year. which is 1,000 times better than the year before, 10,000 times 10 years ago, and so on. And my intention is to live in a constant state of gratitude, as it appears some of you already are, which is fantastic. The last piece I want to talk about, you guys, here is before I go to the model that I've drawn for this, because I want to share that with you. Hopefully you guys downloaded or got sent worksheets for this. There's a diagram that I want to flush in for you, because I'm such a visual person. I'm making a bit of a presumption that some of you would be too. And so when you see things written out, that impacts you in one way, but when you see it in a visual, it impacts you in a different way. So this is the other piece, you guys. The last point that I wanted to make of the 5. God doesn't make any junk. Right? I mean, that's probably a fairly straightforward comment, but I say it because one of the things I've seen in my almost 30-year consulting career is how many people, despite the fact that they're talented, fabulous, brilliant, and gorgeous, right? That they're some of the most well-educated people on the planet, relatively speaking, have tremendous lives, tremendous families, tremendous careers. They feel like they don't deserve to have the great things that they have in their life. They feel like they're not worthy, like they're not good enough, so to speak, right? And you know what? It seems like a simplistic way to view it, you guys, but if you go into the depths of any spiritual teaching, maybe not some of the religious ones, but the spiritual teachings, it's like you're made in God's image, right? So if you're feeling unworthy, it's kind of like you're slapping God in the face. And I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to do that, right? So I don't want to get into too much depth on this. We've got entire modules on this in our coaching program, but I just want to sort of make a general statement that you're amazing, you're talented, you're fabulous, you're brilliant and gorgeous for no other reason, even if I don't know you, just because you're a human being having this experience. You are a child of God, and you deserve to have great things in your life. Okay. So if you've got the worksheet, you guys, I want to go through this worksheet with you. It really just gives a visual representation of the things that we were talking about. Okay. So again, the key to all of this is, and you know what I need to do? I need to actually share my iPad here. So let me just switch screens, you guys. It'll just take me half a sec, please. And we'll get another view of this rascal up here, I hope. Hey, we did actually. That's pretty cool. Okay, so our conversation tonight, right, is about manifestation. And I'm such a nerd about this stuff, you guys, that after we fill this out, I would actually print the sucker out and I would paste it somewhere or tuck it somewhere that I could see it. Paste a couple of copies at one of your, wherever you get dressed, on your mirror at night, where you brush your teeth or something, by side your computer, whatever. So we're talking about manifestation, right? And we talked about how it is both an art and a science. I can't tell you how challenging it is for me to print neatly. Unbelievable challenge. It's just really, and it's not the best. We talked about the law of attraction and how important those are in the process of manifestation. And then we talked about the formula. So let's go through that formula. We're going to put it all on this document, you guys. And again, my offering to you is to print this rascal out and have it somewhere where you can see it regularly, where you can focus on your one piece for 90 days, move on to the next piece. Okay. So again, we're going to start down in the corner here with, get the iPad working here, with gratitude, which I was thrilled to see some of you said in the chat that that's literally one of the big pieces. Are you not seeing the screen right now, you guys? Are you not seeing me right? You are, Bill? Nod heads. Yes, you are. Somebody's not seeing the screen. Bella, you're not seeing it? I'm sorry to hear that. I think it's out there somewhere. Maybe it's behind another application or something. Anyways, gratitude. And then, again, we talked about how there's the next step is a thought, which you flush out and turn into a vision. Which, by the way, anybody, show of hands, anybody have a vision board? Thumbs up. Anybody have a vision board that's been updated recently? Vision boards, I think, are incredibly powerful. Okay, some people can see the scene, some people can't. I apologize, you guys. I'm not sure why that is. We talked about let's actually zoom this in a little bit. It makes it a little bit easier to see. We talked about the written word, how you write out your visions to make them that much more real. We talked about the power of affirmations, which is the spoken word, right? I do my affirmations, you guys, and I used to be kind of spotty with it, hit and miss, but for the last, boy, I got to say almost 15 years now, I can't remember missing a day of affirmations. Every morning as I do my morning rituals, which is my morning meditation followed by Tai Chi yoga, usually a workout of some form, then I do my affirmations. And what I found was, you guys, is you got to link it. If you've got something that's important in your life, like you want affirmations, you want to be more consistent, link it in your mind to something else you already do regularly. Like for me, my morning rituals. I haven't missed my morning rituals, you guys, since I started getting really, really consistent with it in January 1st, 2009. I said, you know what? I've always been pretty good with them. And I'd do them regularly, daily for a month. And then I would do them 3 times a week. And then I'd do them daily again. And then I'd maybe do them twice a week. And I was kind of hit and miss. I said, what if I just committed to doing it every day and never missed? What if I just did it every day? I'll just try it for 1 year and see how it goes. I loved it so much, I haven't looked back, right? And affirmations are another part of that. We also talked about how when you add emotion, powerful, positive, passionate emotion, it really drives the formula, right? We also talked about how, and this seemed to be something that several of you were having some challenges with currently, but committed action, right? And then we wind the whole thing up kind of like full circle. I think I should name a company after that, is thankfulness. And the real courage, you guys, or the real trust or whatever, is to know that as soon as you state what it is you state, say, serves my highest good, thank you, because you know that it's on its way. So that is the visual, you guys, of the full circle manifestation formula. Anybody have any questions for me at this point, either in the chat or others? So I'm going to stop that share and I'm going to go back to the slides, you guys. We're going to bring this baby in for a landing. You know what often freaks me out is that where did my Google, where did Chrome go? Chrome disappears sometimes. There it is. Now I can see it. Okay. All right. So we have questions, you guys. I'm going to hang out for a little bit afterwards, right? So I'm happy to answer any and all questions then as well. All right. So here's the coach in me. Great coaches, in my experience, support and challenge. And the art of coaching is to know when to support and when to challenge. And literally one of the things we do in our coaching program, to leave nothing to chance, is on a quarterly basis, we do reviews. And that's one of the questions we ask. How well are we doing between high fives and hugs and kicking your butt? And if we're too hard one way or the other, we can course correct, right? But there's two things, you guys, right? Is to literally flesh out what are your action steps from this conversation, from this training tonight, which could be just literally one of them would be, I would offer, whatever that one thing you committed to doing earlier on, right? Think about how you're going to do that and create some leverage for yourself. Bring your significant other or partner or a good friend or something into the conversation and say, you know what, I did this training. It was an 8-step thing. This was my sort of weaker spot. This is what I'm committing to doing. And this is what it's going to look like. So break it down, flush it out, and write it down. You just leverage yourself massively to increase that. Now, if you're kind of stuck or stumped and not too sure how to build that into your life, well, then hang out for a few minutes after this conversation and I'll help you. We'll brainstorm it together. And of course, the last part, as I talked about earlier, the difference between a dream or a fantasy and a true goal is a deadline in time and space. Working with timelines and deadlines really brings you into the conversation and into the height of manifestation. Okay. So let's get that on the calendar, you guys, for when you're going to actually take those action steps, commit to those steps. I would encourage you. I'm not a big fan of people having well, unless you're on your phone, but I'm watching this conversation. But if not, grab your phone as soon as we're done and get a date to complete the action steps that you're going to write about, commit to from this training so that you can actually get to a level of mastery of this formula that all the wealthy people in the world understand and work with in their own way. And it's one of the ways to have, let's be clear, not just wealth from a financial standpoint, but a wealth of relationships or a wealth of whatever it is that you want to have in your life. Some of you familiar faces know we do these on average every couple of weeks. So as of this recording, the next one is going to be in 2 weeks on September the 15th, 2022 at 7:30 Eastern. Which, by the way, I have had some requests to actually move these a little bit later. So I'm really thinking about moving them in just till 8 o'clock, just moving them by 30 minutes so that folks in, Central and Mountain and Pacific Standard Times and stuff can get here. I've also had some requests to alternate them, you guys. We always do them on Thursday nights for the last almost year. We've been thinking about moving it to Wednesday night, Thursday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night, so that some people that can't get here on Thursday nights live and would like to be here live could actually get here on a Wednesday night. So I believe we're going to start that in October. And you'll get lots of notification about it. So it's not happening, for at least a month. But I think it will increase the probability that more folks can get here. And as much as I love to, have people get the information, I'd rather interact with you guys live and see some smiles and see some faces and nodding heads and see some stuff going on in that chat. So you guys, that next conversation we're going to have, think rich to be rich, is literally in our roadmap. It's in the abundance aspect of it. And just interesting time that as of this recording, my MOA time today, I literally rewrote the entire abundance module, the training module that goes with the magic show. And you know what, I'm biased because I wrote it, but it was bloody good. It was really good. I didn't have that many tweaks to do. So I'm quite proud of that. And certainly it's something that some of our clients have really enjoyed and has made a difference in their lives to understand the concept of abundance, particularly as it relates to finances and what that's about. So if you would like to understand and learn more about how to think rich to be rich, then you're going to want to join me in a couple of weeks as we go through that particular training. So thanks again for investing time to be here tonight. Those of you that are live,